Over the past couple of years, I had a bunch of comments of people asking me if the Fuji X-T3 is still worth it in 2024, 2025. That is a little surprising, but at the same time, I understand the question. The Fuji X-T3 that I have right here is a camera that is solid, it is well built, it works just great. It has a great sensor, it was released in 2018, so it is not the latest and greatest, but at the same time, if you're on a budget and you can't afford to buy the latest and greatest Fuji camera, then this will do. Hey, welcome to the channel. I decided to make this video to answer some of the most obvious questions about this little guy, the Fuji X-T3. It is a cheap camera. You can only find it secondhand nowadays. They don't produce it anymore. But if you are on a budget, or if you want to access the Fujifilm film simulations, or simply you want to start with Fuji, you can get one of these guys and they work fantastically. One thing that's cool though is that this camera is still compatible with most lenses that you find nowadays, even the newer versions. So you could still get this camera, use the newer lenses and get great photos. In fact, I've shot lots of events. I mean, this is not just a camera that I use professionally, but I also use it for my private life, for taking photos of my kids, for events, family events, for outings, for even just outings by myself. So yeah, all those events can be covered with this puppy. One cool thing is that it still has the classic Fuji layout, you know, with the little dials. It is lightweight, it is well built, and it is a classic Fuji camera, if you can call it that way. Now, some of the cameras from Fuji nowadays are a little bit different. If you take, for example, the XS20 or the XM5 or even the X-T50, they're similar, but they're starting to change a little bit, unless you take the X-T5, which basically came back to the same form factor. But that's one thing that I really like with Fuji is the aesthetics, the nostalgic look, the old school retro look. It's what to me makes Fuji Fuji, on top of obviously the film simulations. Now this doesn't have 20 film simulations like the current offerings from Fuji, but it still has a bunch of good ones, like for example Classic Chrome, which is my favorite. Another great thing about the Fuji X-T3 in 2025 is that the autofocus is still very reliable. It is a phase detect autofocus. In my experience, no matter what lens I choose, even if I shoot with an older lens, I still get great results, even with the autofocus. Now, obviously, I am an old school shooter, and the way I shoot is center focus, reframe. This is all great, but there are a few drawbacks that I do want to tell you about, and I do want to mention because they can be a serious problem for you. One of them is the lack of IBIS. IBIS is the internal body image stabilization. That's a way to stabilize your sensor so that even if you do micro movements and jitters, it's going to stabilize it so that your photos are sharp. And the other thing is for video, that way you don't have these jittery movements when you're filming. Now, this is not a camera that I would recommend for video. In fact, I do not use this camera for video. I don't think I've ever used this camera for video, really. The lack of IBIS is a bit of a problem, unless you want that organic movement and feel, or you want to just stabilize it with, for example, a run-in or, you know, a gimbal. Another drawback to me is the battery life. It is not that bad. I mean, if you're gonna just, you know, go for a simple shoot, or you're gonna go out and take photos and you're gonna shoot 1,000 photos, then it's okay. But it is not the best battery. In fact, since the X-T4, we have the new battery that's also found on the GFX cameras, and that is a way better battery. Now, you can always keep some spare batteries with you. You can find them for very cheap. You can find third-party manufacturers. So that is not a big issue, I would say, but it's still a drawback on this body. Last but not least, there are less advanced AI autofocus features. What I mean by that is you're not gonna have, you know, the tracking of birds, cars, boats, planes, trains, and so forth. Now, that's not something I use. If you're a photographer that takes photos of those things that move real fast, then it's good to have. I personally don't care. I forget that I have that feature on my camera. So it is definitely not a drawback for me, but it could be one for you if you're someone that likes to have those features and that like to have, you know, that very good tracking of people's face or animals and so forth. Who might want to get a Fuji X-T3? I think budget conscious content creators might want to buy one. If you have a low budget or you don't want to spend a lot of money for this camera, or you want to use it as a B camera or whatever, it is still a very good option. Look on the secondhand market and I'm sure you're going to find one. This is also for street photographers and travelers because it is a weather sealed body. So if you put a weather sealed lens, it's going to accompany you to pretty much any place, even if it's humid and or dusty, and it's not going to break a sweat. So I would definitely recommend this if you're a street photographer. Now, if you want something more compact, by all means, find something smaller, but all around, this is just going to work. Or if you're someone that's in love with film simulations from Fuji and you don't want to break the bank and you don't want to change the whole park of lenses, you can get one of these. What are my final thoughts? It is not a perfect camera, but it's personal, and that's why the X-T3 always comes with me. What are your thoughts on this camera? Do you own an old camera? Do you still shoot with an old camera? Let me know. Maybe you shoot with an X-T1 or X-T2. By the way, I still have my X-T2. The screen at the back is broken. I have a piece of tape on it and it still works great. I still don't want to get rid of these guys because I feel like there was something going on with these sensors. Let me know in the comment section below. Take care. Don't forget to subscribe if you like my content, put a like, and I see you very soon. Cheers.